course, what you are going to do, like what are the opportunities that you will be having, and why we need to understand Palo Alto. Okay, so let me share my screen and then I will go through some of the slides. And so guys, let me know if you are able to see my screen.
Yeah, visible.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it is visible.
So before we understand the Palo Alto, we need to understand some of the history of internet and why we are deploying Palo Alto in enterprise, or why we need to understand the firewalls. Okay, so basically when the internet started and what exactly the network engineer was doing and how it got evolved during the time. Okay, so the history of the internet started with ARPANET, and then started with the small networking, and then internet came, and then worldwide, and after that the evolution of the internet came to Facebook, Instagram. Right now we are dealing with all the application in the mobile. First we started with PC, where we have to deal with we have to open the web browser from the PC. We used to log into laptop, or maybe what do you call it, the desktops and all. And then the the laptop came, and after that mobile now, and it is on application. So whenever you are accessing Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you will be accessing on mobile. Now you will not be using that much of desktop or laptop. So everything is on application right now, guys. So during this phase, we have collaboration, we have cloud, we have so many things. Now the bandwidth of the internet got also increased, right? So what I'm trying to say is, before we used to have a website, now we will be having full-fledged YouTube. On YouTube you will be having streaming videos, and that streaming videos are on 8K, 4K. So before we used to talk about some KBs, now we MBs, now we are talking about GBs, right? TBs. So the penetration of internet to everyone is right now it's there, and to secure them, the network security comes into the play, right? So the network security, the network engineer or the network security guys, what they do is they secures your network. Now we'll understand how they actually secures the network. We'll try to understand the basic idea of a firewall, how exactly it works, and then we'll try to understand further. Okay, if you guys have any kind of questions with you, please feel free to ask me, or you can raise hands. I'll try to stop over there, or maybe if I'm doing some kind of lectures, what I'll do is I'll just stop for some time, and then I'll take your question, or maybe once I'll complete, I'll take your questions. Okay, so now we'll understand the evolution of the firewall as well. So how the firewall came into the picture, why it is required, how it got, and after that the UTM has introduced the next gen firewall. Right now we are seeing the next generation firewalls right now. So we'll try to understand what is next gen firewall as well. But first we need to understand the internet. Okay, so let me switch to the explanation. Okay, so now as you guys know, like if we try to understand the internet, all the internet is connected to through the cables, right? So I'll just try to show you something over here. So see cabling. So if you try to see this map, the United States or India or Nepal, Pakistan, whatever you see, every country is connected through this cable. And we have, and this has these things are built by the network engineer. Okay, so basically what exactly the network engineer does is they actually built road. Okay, so, for what? For packet transition. So if a packet wants to go from one location to another location, say for an example, if I want to go from India to, let's say, US, so I have to follow some kind of path, right? So I will be following this path and I'll be reaching the US, right? So whatever the short route will be available for that particular packet, it will follow that particular path and it reaches to the destination, right? So basically, the networking can be related with our practical life. So whenever you try to understand any topics, I will highly recommend you guys to go to understand the practicality of that particular concept, and it will be, you'll be able to find it out. Okay, so right now, let's say if I want to go from India to US, I have to take a flight and go to US, right? Same way, basically we are building a path so that our traffic can reach from one location to another location, right? So this is how the connectivity is there from one country to another country, and the network engineer has built these connections. And with network engineer, now the paths are being taken, and later what happens is, let's say somebody wants to send some traffic, okay, at destination. So from India, somebody wants to send traffic to, let's say, Zimbabwe, for an example. Okay, now in Zimbabwe, if that destination don't want to receive some traffic, what they can do is, they can block that particular traffic. Now in that blocking the traffic, security engineer will come into the play, and they are going to secure the traffic, or they should not allow any illegitimate traffic in the network, right? So now we will go and understand the evolution of the firewall, how it gone from firewall born to UTM and all those things. Okay, so let me open the notepad and we'll try to understand these things. Okay, so for an example, I will take the black one so that it should be visible for you guys. Okay, so let's say this is our PC. Okay. Okay, and this is our firewall. Now the firewall evolution we will be understanding. Okay. Sorry, my drawing is so bad. Okay. So first of all, we'll try and understand, say this PC wants to go to internet or any other destination. We should not only focus on internet. We can focus on any kind of destination this PC wants to go. So this is the source and this is the destination, right? Now, at the start, when the firewall was introduced, it was not a, basically it was kind of understanding the traffic first. Okay, so the firewall was able to understand the layer information. So what layer? Layer 3 information. Okay, so what layer 3 will be having? You should be having an IP address, you should be having a destination IP address, a source IP address. That was the only requirement, and that was the capability of that particular firewall during that time. Okay, later there was some advancement happened, and after that the firewall used to understand the ports as well. Okay, and what kind of traffic it can allow, which side. It can be outbound traffic, it can be inbound traffic. So slowly it started understanding the more visibility of the traffic. So understanding IP address, and then understanding port numbers, and after that it understand the state of the TCP or UDP or any other traffic. Okay, and then it move on, like from layer 3 to layer 4, then layer 7, right? So now it understands the application as well. Okay, so there are so many advancement has came from starting of the firewall to the current what we are having the firewalls, right? So it understands the application. Okay, now I will be correlating these things with the practical example what I showed you. Okay, so right now if I want to move or if I want to go from one country to another country, okay, so what are the things that they are going to check? They are going to check your passport, their visa, and all those things. Whatever the documentation is required, they are going to check. Okay. Now, if you try to understand this, if you want to move from one source to another, now the firewall will come into the picture and it sees all your information. What is the source of your IP address? What is destination, where you want to go, which port number that you want to go, right? And which application that you are going to access. Now these visibility the firewall will having, and whenever you configure any policy, it will be dependent on this criteria, and accordingly it allows the particular traffic. Same way, if you don't have visa, you will not be allowed to travel to another country, right? Or maybe if you don't have any kind of issues with your criminal record in your city, or maybe if you don't have verification from your police department, you'll not be able to travel. So that kind of criteria you have to build. You are a security engineer, you have to build that particular criteria, that these are the criteria that the traffic should be having, then only it will be allowed in your environment. Otherwise it will not be allowed, right? Now to understand this, it was good. Okay, there is one of the most important thing that you guys need to understand, that is a stateful inspection was there. Okay, so now in stateful what exactly happens, we'll try to understand. Okay, I understand there is a IP address, there is a destination IP address, there's a port that we understand. Okay, now let's say if this PC is initiating a connection to this destination, basically, let's say this is a server. Okay, this is a source. Okay, this is a PC. Okay, now it initiates a connection to this particular server. Okay, now it has some information, source, destination, port number, and all those things. Okay, TCP or UDP, whatever it is. Okay, now basically whenever you send this traffic to the firewall will see his policies, whether that particular source, destination, port number is allowed or not, and accordingly it actually allows or denies the traffic, right? So in this scenario, what used to happen is this is going outside, right? This is an outbound connection. We say as if this is outbound connection. If something is coming from outside, or you understand as a outside, it is a inbound connection, which is coming to the firewall or inside the organization, which is called as inbound connection. And this is going from your organization to outside. This is called it as outbound connection. Okay. Now let's say you implement a policy over here saying that if this is the source, if this is the destination, if this is the port, you are going to allow that. Okay, what is that? This is an outbound connection, right? Now if something coming from a reply is coming from this server and it is as a inbound connection, what it is an inbound connection. In that case, it will not be allowed. Basically it will be denied, because we have created a policy and saying that whenever you see a outbound policy, you should allow, not inbound policy. So basically whenever a reply comes, it will be denied by default, right? Now again you have to create a policy saying that if somebody is coming from outside, the source is outside, the destination is inside, and the port number. and you are basically allowing that particular policy. So in that case, what will happen? In that case, you are opening a port, or opening a basically a loophole. You are allowing a outbound connection, which is inbound connection, which is not good, right? You are creating a policy on external IP address, which is actually not acceptable for the organization, right? So if somebody wants to do some kind of if he wants to send some kind of illegitimate traffic to your organization, it can the system can be compromised and he can do a lot of things, right? So for that reason, there is a concept called as stateful inspection. Okay, now there is one more thing that I wanted to cover, but we'll be covering in the session with the deep details. Okay, but for now we will try to understand some of the things. Okay, so for that reason, the stateful firewall come into the picture. So what stateful firewall does is, whenever a PC initiates, in this scenario, whenever the PC initiates any connection, the source, destination, and the port number goes to the firewall. Now firewall, in his memory, what it does is, it saved all this information: source, destination, port number, and the TCP state as well. Right now we are not talking about TCP state right now, but we'll talk about the source, destination, and the port number. Okay, so what happens is, whenever somebody or if any traffic is going through this, if anybody is asking any questions now. So basically what happens is, they actually the firewall will keep this information in his memory, okay, and creates a reverse policy as well. So the source will become the destination will become the source and the port number, and creates a reverse policy. Basically, let's say the source is 1, the destination is 2, and port number is 3. So in this case, the destination will be 1, okay, the source will be 2, and the port number will be 3. I'll talk about the source port number and the destination port number. For now, you just understand this is the simply a port number. Okay. So whenever the reverse traffic that is coming source and destination, actually it allows the connection without creating an extra policy. There will be a burden to the firewall to store this information, but at the same time, we are protecting our network by creating a policy, a mirror, or I can say a mirror policy. So whenever a traffic passes through a firewall, it creates a mirror of that particular policy and it allows your connection. So now to process that particular policy, you need to understand, whenever a user is asking for a connection, they will say, I have seen in my organization, or like in a lot of organizations, the user will not understand this. They will say, I need both direction, like I need a connection from the source as well as a bi-directional connection I want. But you need to ask him whether you need the destination needs to initiate a new connection or just need to reply. That's all. So if they are saying just reply, then you just need to create one rule. But in case of bi-directional, you have to create 2 rules, right? From source to destination and destination to source, because it only works when you are initiating a connection from source to destination, not from destination to only the destination. I will come to it. So when a destination is replying to your connection, during that time the stateful come into the play. Otherwise, if he is initiating or the destination is initiating a new connection, in that case the stateful will not work. Yeah, please.
Yeah, so the question is, apart from that, like I have two questions. Will that be possible to get this training in Hindi? See, I don't think that gonna be a problem, but in Hindi, it's a plus point to get this understood and deliver at any platform that we want to like explain. So, like,
Sumit, that I'll discuss with you separately, because we decided to go with the English batch for this.
okay.
And there are some people who's joining from outside India, so they might be not able to understand Hindi.
Okay, no problem. See, that's what I mentioned, though I don't have a problem with that. But I have one question more. Like, does this course contain all the topics that will help us crack the interview and the future certification of Palo
Yes,
as
yes,
well?
of course. We're coming on that also,
Okay.
the content of the course, but which we supposed to deliver in this. Okay.
Okay, no worries.
Yep.
Okay, please.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, because continue.
Okay. So as we understand the stateful, to answer, basically, see, whenever we go to the course content of this, you will understand that while completing your course itself, you will be able to eligible for any kind of interview. You will be able to answer the questions, and whenever I'll give you some of the links that you can go through, and you can prepare for your interview. Like, you'll be able to answer that questions as well. Okay, so don't need to worry about those things. Okay, now, so regarding the stateful inspection, as I was explaining, it only works when you are initiating connection from source to destination and destination is replying to that. It doesn't work when you are initiating a new connection from destination to the source. You need a new rule for that. Okay. Now, basically, what exactly happens? Okay. So we'll try to understand. So the first thing, the firewall was able to understand the IP address. Then it used to understand the port numbers, the layer 4 information, and then it tries to understand the data as well. So in data, we have got 7, 6, and 5, all the layers: the session layer, the presentation layer, and the application layer, right? So it tried to understand the data as well. And it also does understand the information about the user as well, right? So in the data, we have got application, we have got URL filtering, we have got data leak prevention, we have got file blocking, and we have got SSL inspection. There are so many things that the firewall can do inside. It goes to the data and understand the data and does many things. Okay. It also understands the user as well. Okay. What user is doing what. So with the help of user ID, it understands the user, what is the user, what is the name of the user, what he's trying to access, what he gonna do, what he is capable of doing it in the network, whether he can access on server, whether he can access the database, whether he can go to URL, to the internet or not. So many things it can does with those things. Okay. Now, we need to understand few things, and there are so many questions regarding a UTM and a next gen. Okay, we'll answer that. So in UTM and in next gen firewall, what exactly it is? Okay, so we'll take an example of the Cisco, how exactly they does and what exactly happens during that time and what checkpoint does it. Okay, so basically in Cisco, what happens is Cisco has a device for everything. Okay, Cisco has a firewall. Okay, Cisco has a proxy. Cisco has a VPN concentrator. So Cisco will have all the devices. But in UTM, what happens is you will get all the functionality in a single device. But in next gen firewall, what you can do is you can select the feature whatever you want and you can use it. In UTM, you have to use all the features, but in next-gen firewalls, you will have the option to choose which features that you want to use, and you can use those features, right? Now, the optimization has been increased from UTM devices to next-gen firewall, because if the traffic is going through all the processing of the particular all the blades or all the services, all the features, in that case, the performance of the firewall will be decreased or deplete, whatever you say. But in case of next gen firewall, whatever features that you want, you can enable that and you can use that particular feature, and the performance will increase in case of next gen firewall. Why? Because you are not using those features what is not required. What is required, you are using it. That's all, right? So the basic purpose of getting a next gen firewall is to have a understanding what features that enterprise want and what you want to implement. Okay, I'll show you one data sheet that you guys will be able to understand. Give me a minute, I will try to show that for an example. Palo Alto 30 seat. Let me erase this. Okay. So if you try to understand over here, okay. Now the performance of that particular Palo Alto firewall. Okay. Now when you enable app ID, the speed or the bandwidth of that particular firewall is this. When you are enabling the threat prevention throughput, it decreases, right? When you are implementing IPsec, it also compromised on the bandwidth. So it happens with all the firewalls, it happens. So whenever you need to understand, like whenever you choose any services, you need to understand, you have to refer the data sheet, you need to understand what is the throughput that I'm going to get and what is required, how much user I have, how much bandwidth that I need to allow for that particular environment, and then accordingly we have to act it. Okay, so why you might have seen why there is a different device for load balancer, why there is a different device for proxy, why there is a different. So if you might have worked on enterprise network, you might have seen a different devices for different services, because they will be having a huge number of users. Okay, now let's say in an office, if you have 2000 users, the traffic will be more, and if you want that only one single firewall can handle all the services, as well as it can protect the data, it will be a little difficult for firewall to deal with that. Okay, now that is the reason we have a different understanding. So whenever I say router, okay, router, or maybe if I say any other a firewall or a Fortinet or any other thing, a small branch network, in that case you will be seeing the router will be there, the switches will be there in that particular small office, home office devices. So you will be finding the switches, there will be few ports available, there will be wireless